I'm Bridget Lake, president of the Oviedo Winter Springs Regional Chamber of Commerce, and we are here with Alan Apte, running for Circuit Court Judge, seat 21, serving both Orange and Osceola County. Our premier virtual Eastside Regional Hob Nob is presented by Lucas Land Group, an Oviedo-based family-run business with interest throughout Central Florida. Our sponsor, Duke Energy, and our radio sponsor, 96.5 WDBO. Now, before we get into our conversation, let's watch a quick commercial from our sponsor, Duke Energy.
When does the future begin? At Duke Energy, we say now. That's why we're investing in tomorrow's stronger, smarter energy future, today. Like a resilient power grid that can withstand storms not yet on the radar. Meters that show your energy use so you can adjust and save before your bill arrives. And a smarter grid ready for tomorrow's clean energy breakthroughs. We're Duke Energy, and we're building your smarter energy future today.
And now we are back with Alan Apte, running for Circuit Court Judge, seat 21. He is one of our candidates at the Eastside Regional Hob Nob. Alan, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful, Ms. Lake. Thank you for inviting me to interview. This is an incredible opportunity because the Eastside Regional Hob Nob is an amazing event in our community. The effects of pandemic has affected campaigns, and it's very important to the voters of Central Florida to know the seriousness in re-electing and electing our judges.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate that. We really want to make sure that our communities get to know our candidates, and we feel that this is a great way for our community to get to know them. So I appreciate that. Why don't we start with a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a lifelong Floridian. Actually, my family's been in Florida since the late 1800s, and I specifically moved to Central Florida in the early 90s. Since I moved to Central Florida in the early 90s, I've always been in the community. I believe in altruistic community service, and that's how I started. I serve our community as an assistant state attorney, and then after several years, I ran for judge, and I was first elected in 2002, I was reelected in 2008, and I was reelected in 2014, and I hope to be reelected again in 2020. I have an interesting path to the bench. It's not the usual path. My background is I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry. I minored in fine art, computers, and I'm a few credit hours short of a literature degree. I was going to be a doctor, and I took a year off from college and decided to go to medical school. And my parents said, you're not going to sit around the house, you're going to get a job. So I interned, a law internship. My dad's a lawyer, my mom's a school teacher. And when I did my internship, I'm like, this is really cool. And decided to take the law school admission test, got accepted to law school, and that started my path. And the best part about law school, I had the opportunity to be part of a program of restorative justice to kids who were first offenders in high school and junior high. And my law school had an arrangement with the school board to have the kids and their parents meet with one of the law school students to talk about what happened in school and try to keep them out of the system. Because once someone gets in the system, it is very difficult to keep them out a second or third time. So when I graduated law school, I thought to myself, how could I best serve the community? And I became an assistant state attorney, because every single day an assistant state attorney doesn't just touch victims. They help victims, they help law enforcement, they help witnesses, they help the community. They even help the people accused of the crime, because a prosecutor is a minister of justice and has to do what is right. And after several years of doing that, I decided to run for office, and the citizens of Orange and Osceola elected me, and I've proudly served for these 18 years.
Well, that is incredible. So you're telling us you really didn't even plan to become a lawyer. You really were in a different direction, and you ended up pivoting to that, and now you have a lifelong career in this.
Yes, I've been proudly serving Orange and Osceola counties in different ways for 25 plus years. I've been here since 1993, and I've always served the community. I believe wholeheartedly in community service. Before I became a judge and while as a judge, I've done altruistic community service. I've served on the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club in Orange County and in Osceola County. Big Brothers Big Sisters, I've served on the board. I've served Meals on Wheels through Seniors First, coach youth soccer. I can go on and on about the community service, and I do it completely altruistically. And that because of my family's background. My parents were both born during the Great Depression. My dad's father was killed when he was 5, and he grew up as the head of the household, and my grandmother was a maid, and hard work is what he learned from that experience. My mom's father was a mechanic, and her mother was a took care of the kids at home, and that was tough as well in the Depression. So, and she became a school teacher, and my dad grew up in the inner city, and my mom taught in the inner city. So when I was born, and as I was growing up in elementary school, I still remember the conversations of, you're not just going to go to college. You're going to go to college. You're going to go to a postgraduate degree, and you're going to give back to the community. And that's what they instilled in me. And it went on and on and on all the way until I finished school. And my parents were very proud when I went to go work as an assistant state attorney versus going to work for a law firm. But at some point, halfway through my time as a prosecutor, my dad got really sick and he was dying. And I quit my job and moved back to South Florida and took a job at a law firm who wanted me for my trial skills, because by 29, I've already prosecuted homicide cases. And as a prosecutor, I did over 100 jury trials and countless of non-jury trials. And I worked for a law firm in Miami who did higher end civil litigation, count and liability, represented corporations and individuals, and did some criminal defense work in state and federal court. So I got immersed in everything possible in the practice of law. And then when my dad got better, was able to go back to work, he said, Alan, follow your dreams. Go back to Orlando, follow your dreams, serve the community. And I went back being a prosecutor. And then several years later, I ran for judge, and that's my path to the bench.
And that's interesting. And as an attorney, your job is really to represent your client. And as a judge, you're really supposed to be impartial. How difficult was that to transition?
That is interesting, because that's what they teach you at judges school, is that transition. I think that is the hardest thing for lawyers when they transition to the bench. Is you are no longer an advocate. You are the arbiter of facts. You apply the law, you render a decision. And that's what I pride myself on every single day when I'm in the courtroom. I'm not the judge that just says granted or denied. I explain to the litigants and the lawyers what the facts are as I heard them. I tell them what the rules are. I tell them what the law is, and I tell them how I rule. And what everyone wants, individuals, businesses, what they want is prompt rulings, fair rulings, and the access to the courthouse in a timely manner. And that's what I strive to do every single day. One of the advantages that our community gets with me is of my seniority here in Central Florida. I'm one of only 2 or 3 judges that have actually practiced in every single courthouse in Orange and Osceola counties. And I'm probably one of only 2 judges who have served as a judge in every single courthouse in Orange and Osceola counties. And I've served in every single possible division. I've been in the criminal division, the family division, domestic violence division, unified family court, which I actually started in the 9th Circuit, VOP court, criminal division, and now I've started the mental health guardianship and Baker Act division to help our most vulnerable individuals in our community. Additionally, I handle all the Jimmy Rice cases as I review all the sex offenders who are coming out of prison.
You mentioned earlier about, your mom and your dad and how you were raised. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your family?
Growing up in a depression, my grandmother had 5 children. Only 2 survived birth. And it was very difficult growing up in the early turn of the 20th century. And my dad's brother was physically handicapped. They did not have the surgery or the medical ability to fix his disability. And then when my grandfather died, it was devastating to the family. My grandmother was a maid, and that's how she kept the family going. And my dad had to work at a young age. And when my dad went to school, he had to go to college. He had on a scholarship, and he went on an ROTC scholarship, but he had no car. And he had to hitchhike back and forth all the way to the University of Florida. And then when he'd come back at the end of term, he'd had to hitchhike back all the way to Miami. These are the stories that I would hear from my father and from my uncle throughout my life. My mom grew up in New York. My grandfather was a mechanic, and he got sick as well and couldn't work anymore. And they told him, move to Florida, warmer weather, less damp, less cold. And he couldn't work anymore. And that was difficult. That was very difficult. Went from living in a home to just living in an apartment. And that was tough. And my grandparents instilled upon my parents, get an education. They're the first two to graduate college and get postgraduate degrees. My dad has an aeronautical engineering degree, University of Florida. He's in the first graduating class, and then he was in the Air Force. And then when he left the Air Force, he went to law school, and he sacrificed the riches of practice to be close to me growing up. He opened up a small practice on the beach, and I worked there in the summer times. I watched how hard he worked, and my mom would work on the weekends when she wasn't teaching as a secretary. And my mom taught in the inner city because she grew up in the inner city of New York, and that's where she taught. And then when I was born, she transitioned to part-time teaching, but 35 years as a teacher is incredible. And that's the background. And I got to know 3 of my 4 grandparents, and they instilled upon me the same things. And I carry that through every single day. Every single day, I think about my parents, I think about my grandparents, and I use that as part of me when I'm sitting on the bench.
Well, it sounds like that really is part of you, and it's taken you far. And let me ask you, it sounds, is there anything that you would like to add on this before we wrap this up?
The world has changed because of the pandemic, and the court systems has changed to help out individuals and businesses. One of the greatest things that has occurred from the pandemic for what we do at work is the use of video. And like we're doing today, prior to the pandemic, a judge could not sit there and swear in a witness because we couldn't see them. The Supreme Court has authorized us, if we can see you, know you, and see or see a driver's license, we can swear you in. What an incredible cost savings and time savings to businesses and individuals. You don't have to shut down your business anymore. You don't have to have a missed employee all day long and come down to the courthouse in either Orange or Osceola County. You can do your job, and you know you have a hearing at 9 o'clock. At 8:59, you stop, turn on your video, you have your hearing, turn the video off, and you're back at work. If you're a mom or dad taking care of children at home, you don't have to look for daycare. You don't have to wait for someone to show up or be scared or concerned they're not going to show up and you're going to miss your court date. That is the greatest thing about this is you can parent your children, and you can give them a movie to watch, or you can give them a book, or you can sit them in the bassinet next to you. You can get on the video, have your hearing, and then you can go back to your being a parent. And that's the greatest thing. And my division, we have not stopped working during the pandemic. I have only had 1 day with no court hearings. And all day today, I'm doing everything electronically. I'm receiving the pleadings, writing orders, and sending them back out. And the role of a judge is we're service. We provide service to the community. If we're not available, we're not providing access to justice. And the phrase is true. justice denied because of delay. So the true saying is justice delayed is justice denied. By having this ability to do video, we have been able to increase our ability to help our community in the judicial system.
Well, I do appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day for having this interview with us. Everyone, that is Alan Apte running for Circuit Court Judge, State 21. He is one of our candidates at the Eastside Regional Hob Nob. We hope to see you at our virtual Hob Nob on June 30th at 5:30. And make sure to check out all of our one-on-one interviews at esrhobnob.com. Thank you so much, Alan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Ms. Lake. Please have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.